Esprit Saint, tu viens à nous dans toutes les langues et toutes les cultures et toutes les nations. Rappelle-nous que chaque langue est le reflet de ta création. Donne-nous ta parole vivante. O Holy Presence, you come to us in every language, culture, and nation. Remind us that all our diversity is a reflection of you at work in creation. Give us an understanding of Scripture that is a reflection of your living word, we pray. Amen. One of my favorite children's stories is a book called My Name is Sangol. It's a story of, it's written by Karen Lynn Williams and Kadra Muhammad. Here's the cover. It's the story of a Sudanese boy. He comes to North America as a refugee. His father has been killed in the Civil War, and young Sangol, his mother, and his sister flee to safety, first in a refugee camp, then eventually accepted as refugees to the United States. Needless to say, everything is new and strange for Sangol. He misses his father. He's homesick. It's cold and noisy, and worst of all, no one can pronounce his name. Somebody calls him Sanglo. Another person asks him, "Can I just call you Sam?" Someone else painfully pronounces every single syllable, San-go-el. Well, it's not the way that Sangol and his family say it. At school, basically, the other kids just call him, "Hey, you," or "New kid." Finally, Sangol comes up with this ingenious solution. He takes an old white sweatshirt and draws a picture of the sun. Then he draws a soccer net with the ball just sailing in for the goal. "Sun goal," he says to the teacher. "Sun goal," the teacher says to the other students. "Sun goal," the other students call him when they want him to play at recess. It's just a small but very important step to help Sangol feel at home in his new country. It's so important for us to learn how to get other people's names right. Isn't it painful to hear your name dismissed by someone who just hasn't taken the time to learn it properly? I think of the long line of refugees coming to North America and having their names changed by an immigration officer. "Your name is Minho," they say. "Well, I'll just register you as Michael." The same thing happened to Indigenous children in residential schools, to Eastern European immigrants whose names apparently had too many syllables, even to Irish immigrants whose names were deemed too Catholic. It's so important, though, to get the name right so that the person feels like they are respected. In the Bible story for today, we hear Moses asking for God's name, and God offering in response a name that doesn't fit with Moses' experience or expectations. "I am who I am," God replies. Most of our translations use that phrase, though others say, "I am what I am," or "I am that I am," even "I will be who I will be." Rabbi Nahum Sarna says the name "I am who I am" is the quality of absolute being, the eternal, unchanging, dynamic presence of the holy. Like other Jewish scholars, he interprets the name as a kind of puzzle or mystery That leads us to the realization that God is beyond every metaphor, every simile, every phrase we use. God is always beyond all the parameters of our human understanding. So as a result, we use many different names for God. Living in a pluralistic society, we recognize it's not a case of the right and the wrong names, but maybe that all of our names just scratch the surface. Some call God Father, some call God Mother, some call God Lord, others Creator. Some use unpronounceable names on purpose, or no name at all. Some use only symbols that direct us to look beyond our tendency to use a human anthropomorphic name. Most of our names often demonstrate a relationship. Mommy or dad, grandma, nana, poppy, sister or brother, professor, doctor, officer. Then there's Junior and Senior and Elizabeth II and Henry VIII. We're often named after somebody, a friend, an ancestor, a favorite musician or author. And some are given names that are unusual in their time and place. My daughter Ruth, for example, has never shared a name with any other classmate because her name is apparently so out of style. And then names can change. In the Bible, we read about Abram and Sarai, who became Abraham and Sarah, after they accepted God's call to move to the Promised Land. Then there's Jacob, the second son who stole his brother's birthright. He is renamed Israel when the two reconcile, and he fathers the 12 tribes of Israel. Naomi, bitter and angry after the death of her husband and her 2 sons, asked the women of her village to call her Marah, for the Lord has dealt bitterly with me. The Lord has brought me back empty, she says. And then Jesus renamed his disciple Simon as Peter, or Simon Peter, sensing in him the foundation rock, the Petra, for the believers who would follow. Then there was Saul, who persecuted the early followers of Jesus. He changed his name to Paul when he experienced the risen Christ. His name change signaled a new identity and a new relationship with God. Now, we are pretty accustomed to the tradition of women changing their name to their partner's name at marriage. Then families started using hyphenated names, and sometimes we find that a bit of a mouthful. And sometimes people even create a new last name. We've always known that there were pen names for authors, screen names for actors. People choose new names when they are going through a transition in gender identity, when they are reclaiming a lost heritage, or rejecting a previous relationship with their family. Any of those people can probably tell you it's painful when your new chosen name, your new identity or pronoun is not respected by the people you meet. In the biblical story, Moses asked, "What is God's name?" What he was really asking, though, was partially, which God are you? Are you the God of the sun or the ocean? The God of war? The God of fertility? Are you the God of Egypt or the God of the Israelites? So basically he was saying, why should Pharaoh listen to you? God, you better have a pretty good name to make Pharaoh listen. God answered, I am who I am, my essential self. I am Yahweh, the name that could not be spoken. I am Elohim, Jehovah, El Shaddai. I am Creator, wisdom, Savior, Spirit. Moses wanted to capture God, but God refused his limitations. Beyond definition, that's what God's name really means. For God can only be experienced, not captured, experienced in relationship. I guess Moses wasn't completely convinced by God's name, because he went on to complain about the situation God had put him in, his own limitations, and all the reasons why this plan to liberate the Israelites wouldn't work. But God didn't agree with Moses, because God knew Moses even more profoundly than Moses knew himself. God already knows that Moses cannot do it on his own. Moses can only free the people by being in relationship with all of Israel's descendants. You see, Moses probably didn't consider himself one of the Israelites. That's not a name he would have claimed for himself. Taken out of the river as an infant, given an Egyptian name, raised in the palace, it was only later that Moses learned who his biological parents were. Then, for many years after he escaped to Egypt, Moses lived with Zipporah and Jethro in Midian. He had completely distanced himself from the name Israelite in order to save his life. Moses probably didn't know that he was sibling to Miriam and Aaron, who became his helpers. Yet God knew. God knew that those siblings will become Moses' right and left hand through all the confrontations with Pharaoh, through the flight into the wilderness, crossing the Red Sea. Miriam and Aaron will make him proud to call himself an Israelite, to find himself part of the family tree. God said to Moses, "They are all your people, these descendants of Israel, so you are responsible for them. You need to be part of their liberation." How about us? Are you comfortable describing yourself as Christian? I know there are days when it is hard for me to claim that name. Residential schools, the oppression of women, conversion therapy. A couple years ago, there was an American campaign where famous people were filmed saying, "I'm Christian, but not that kind of Christian." And in another quote, a trans non-binary pastor of the Lutheran Church in the US said that it was a lot harder in her generation to come out as a Christian than it was to come out as queer. Today, when we mark World Communion Sunday, we don't get to say, "I'm not that kind of Christian." Instead, we are invited to sit at the table with our whole Christian family, warts and all. We are all followers of Jesus, but we acknowledge many different visions of Jesus might have inspired us. Somehow, mystically and spiritually, we are all branches of the one vine. Together, we are planted deep in the soil of God's good creation, not just as Christians, but as people of all faith traditions and even no faith tradition. Many days I feel I have more in common with the progressive Jewish, Muslim, and Baha'i friends I have than I will ever have with some conservative Christian siblings. But today we pray for one another. We pray together at this banquet of the earth. because we know that the work that needs to be done in the world right now is bigger than what we can do alone. It is bigger than any individual believer, any congregation, any denomination. God's mission is so much bigger than what we can do alone. We need to work together as people of faith. Like Moses embracing that new old identity as an Israelite so that he could go and confront Pharaoh, saying, "Let my people go." Or like a young queer Christian who has to come out to their progressive friends and tell them, "Actually, I am part of that Christian family that you complain about." Or like a newcomer or an indigenous person saying their real name, Sangol, and challenging us to learn and remember it. God knows each and every one of us by name, and God loves us. Even as we call on God's name, whatever name we use, God is already calling us to claim our name and our space and our mission in the world. And all along the journey, we will be nourished by the bread, we will be refreshed by the cup, and blessed by Christ's transcendent presence, so that we too can play our parts in the liberation of all living things. May it be so. Thanks be to God.